like was like, you know what, I'm going to use this because I can talk for the children that don't want to or are too young, right? And I was like, I'm not going to shut up about this. Like, I literally thought I was going to die, so I was like, might as well try to do some good in the world.
Sam Wilkerson, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure to have you in. For the audience, can you start by please telling everyone a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and a bit about what you do?
Yeah. Um, so I would call my hometown Memphis. That's where I spent most of my childhood. And now I live in Colorado, and I'm moving to San Diego next year.
That's amazing. And are you a student, or are you working, or?
So yeah, right now I'm working. I'm assigned model, and then I'm also doing like delivery driving and that kind of stuff because I can't really do like physically strenuous jobs just yet. But I am going to be a student next year. A lot of people don't know this, but colleges actually let you defer for a year if you get like drafted into the military or have a life-threatening illness. And it was a little bit of a process, but University of California, San Diego let me defer. So they basically guaranteed me a spot next year. So I know where I'm living. I know my major. It's nice to know where I'm going.
That's awesome. Well, what are you planning on doing there?
The environment, ecology, and evolution major.
That sounds interesting. And a year off to find yourself. Now, what was for the audience who may not know, can you tell us a little bit about the life-threatening ailment that allowed you to take a year off? Maybe you could share a little bit about that for everyone.
It was like the summer of before my senior year of high school. I was about to start, and I got like really sick. I had like the flu, and we just went to urgent care. We were like, oh, we'll do like a chest x-ray to make sure she doesn't have like bronchitis. And so the tech actually didn't have to write this down, but he noticed like a weird bump right behind my chest in the back of my heart. And because it was like a 2D x-ray, it obviously at the time they didn't think it was a tumor. Actually, that was not the first time I had a life-threatening condition. I was born with a heart arrhythmia. I was in the NICU for first couple weeks of my life. I almost had to have open heart surgery. Around this time, I started getting night sweats. I would go to school and then sleep until like 8 p.m. as soon as I got home from school, and then eat dinner and then go back to sleep. I was super tired. And the doctors literally could not figure out what was wrong with me. Because I was training for a half marathon, I was super healthy, had a really active lifestyle. And so they were like, we're gonna start testing her for cancer. Came back negative for leukemia, came back negative for a bunch of other diseases. So they finally just did an echocardiogram because they're like, we gotta like see what's in this girl's chest, and that's basically like an ultrasound, so they can see like 3D what's in your chest. And so in January, the tests finally came back. We had to wait a couple months because it was very non-urgent because they really didn't think I had cancer. And they're like, well, surprise, you have a tumor next to your heart and it's the size of a softball, and then you have little golf ball sized tumors all up and down here. And I was like, okay. And they didn't think it was cancerous still. It was just called a mediastinal mass. That's what I was diagnosed with originally. And I was actually I had just gone like sledding with my friends. I just had like this great day, and I saw that and I was like, so then I went in for a CAT scan because that's really the only way you can diagnose the kind of cancer I had. There's not like a blood test. So yeah. Sorry, I know that was kind of long and rambly, but
No, please. Thank you for putting it together so succinctly for us. I mean, there's a lot of people in our audience who who have had a similar situation, but I'm wondering, how did you start to, did you dig yourself out of it? Was there like a wash of emotions? Just maybe you can walk us through some of the feelings and the thoughts and sort of how you took it from there.
I I mean, there's really nothing like being diagnosed with cancer. Like, I remember after the CAT scan, my parents and I, we just sat in our living room and kept refreshing to see what my diagnosis was. Like, we couldn't do anything. And I remember my dad went out of the room to go see what it was, and he just came back and he was crying and he was like, my baby, my baby. And he didn't even have to say anything else. I knew. And I thought I was gonna die, to be quite frank. You hear cancer, and I was almost stage 3, because I was right on the line of being an adult and a child. They weren't really sure whether I was stage 2 or 3 because it changes as you age. I ended up with stage 2B, which means I had a really bulky tumor, but it hadn't metastasized yet.
What were the reactions? What did people say?
Whew. I, mostly people were really nice. It was great. I had a really huge support system. But you do get people who are a little mean about your diagnosis, a little in disbelief. There was a period of time when I was in a wheelchair, and I had some people tell me I was like kind of like faking my symptoms because a lot of people don't associate not being able to walk with cancer. They thought I was like playing it up, when in reality the science behind it is you have less red blood cells, so you can't get oxygen to extremities like your legs.
Right. So you have the fatigue too.
Yeah. And I had people tell me I was talking about it too much, or using my cancer for attention. And I think in reality, I was just given an opportunity, because a lot of childhood cancer is in the like really young kid age range, like on the blood cancer floor. I was always the oldest kid there, almost always. Right? Like, I was right on the edge of qualifying for pediatric care. I think I was like, you know what, I'm gonna use this because I can talk for the children that don't want to or are too young, right? And I was like, I'm not gonna shut up about this. Like, I literally thought I was gonna die, so I was like, might as well try to do some good in the world if I pass, right? Like,
Yeah, that's amazing. And I just want to backtrack a little bit because that is an incredible insight that you had the maturity to know that you were developed enough as a person and a human to maybe make a platform out of this so that you can shed light on a difficult subject and help the children in pediatrics who are maybe still a bit too young to have the emotional and intellectual competence to do what you could do at your age and your maturity. But I want to go back to for a second because these years are tough. High school is a difficult stage of life for many, and I kind of want to know, because emotional competency, it seems like you've got it maybe at this point figured out, but for many who are in the middle of it, and probably when you were in the middle of it too, probably felt like this is all there is and it's going to be so tough. But how did you navigate those negative comments and people who, uh, and I'm sure, given the benefit of hindsight and years later, they'll look back and think, oh, like what a bozo I was, for thinking that way. But, people are young and dumb, and, these things happen from time to time, and they later on mature and realize how absurd that is. But in the moment for you, how did you navigate some of those negative comments and thoughts and difficult challenges?
so actually, before I was diagnosed, I was incredibly depressed. I felt like I didn't fit in. I felt like I didn't have friends. And when I was diagnosed with cancer, it kind of put everything into perspective. I know that's like such a cliche thing to say, like, But
No, it's true.
it
Cliches can be real.
it really was like, wow, I actually do care if I live, right? Like that innate sense of like wanting to survive really changed things for me. I'm the kind of person that loves reaching out for support. And so my parents and I, we created this huge network. When I shaved my head, it wasn't like this super sad moment with just me and my parents where it was like, wow. We invited my entire grade and family, friends, relatives to come, and we had like a head shaving party. Actually, my phone background is me and my best friends like a month
Oh,
after they all shaved their heads. Yeah, I think I had like 7 people shave their heads for me.
having people that you can lean on during those moments, super important. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. I kind of want to pivot a little bit now and talk about so you had this difficult diagnosis during a difficult time, and you had this head shaving party, which is kind of a neat, cool thing, and everyone dyed their hair purple to show their solidarity for in support of you being alive and staying that way. How did you decide to start your social media journey? And can you share a little bit about the beginning stages of that?
I actually started like kind of modeling before I was diagnosed. My senior photographer had all these connections and he just loved me. And then I started my TikTok account basically like the day after I got diagnosed. Cuz a lot of people use humor to cope with this
Mm.
kind of thing, and it initially started out as me like making jokes to my friends. But then I had like a video that went like semi-viral, and I was like, and then I started getting all these messages from people who were like, hey, like I have blood cancer, what do I do? And I realized there's not a lot of people on TikTok that like recently had cancer around my age.
Mm.
And I was like, I can like help people.
So you're having all these people reach out to you. Were there any specific, especially meaningful interactions with the community that you'd like to share?
I I think her name's Melanie. She also is my age. She has Hodgkin's, and like I found her profile and I was like, wow, she's just like me. And we started talking and kind of helped each other through our journey. And then I went to a Leukemia and Lymphoma Society event, and there were these 2 girls wearing a survivor shirt, and I was like it is incredibly rare for me to find people my age who are cancer survivors. And I immediately went up to them and I was like, are you guys survivors? And they were like, yeah, are you a survivor? And then they just like added me to their group chat, and now I text them like every day. um
That's great. I'm glad that you have that. And the world is so big and also so small now and connected through so many different ways. It's so easy, so much easier now in a lot of ways to find your people. And
mhm.
I'm glad that it sounds like you have. As someone who went through, or well, who went from training for a half marathon to spreading awareness for childhood cancer, you're clearly a very motivated individual. Um, what is some advice you would like to give to your younger self, if you could, or someone who's currently going through the beginning stages of pediatric cancer?
I think honestly just trying to stay positive. And when I first heard that, when I got diagnosed, I was like, shut up, like you don't know what it's like, right? Like stop trying to tell me to be happy. Which I completely understand. But I honestly, once I started being like, I will get through this. I'm gonna enjoy life every like day by day for what it is. It really helped. Like my attitude towards cancer really helped me. And was there 100% chance I was gonna live? No. Um, but I knew that, and I just had to keep being like, I'm gonna be cheerful. Like, I'm going to enjoy things, do things I've never done before, because I don't know how much time I might have left, and I just want to enjoy life.
No, absolutely. And it's funny that you say that. It's like everyone is always saying, "Be positive," but for everyone, that's a different journey to get to that place. Well, Sam, thank you so much for coming on the show and chatting with us. You're a remarkable person who's definitely been through some very serious challenges, but we're so glad to see that you've overcome them and that you're spreading joy, positivity, inspiration to others who might be going through similar things. So we want to thank you so much, and uh, we hope to speak with you again soon.
Thank you.